My beautiful starshines, and today I decided to do another reading session. I know I did one a very while back, but I decided I had to return that book sadly because it was a library book. But I have one of my very own books today, and I will be showing you guys what the book is called. I will be telling you what the book's called, actually. I'll show you the cover of it, though. Today, I have my own book, and it is called Finding Zasha by Randy Barrow. I will show you guys the scene really quick. Here is the cover of the book. It is two doggies. And he will be reading you guys to about one or two chapters. I will be trying to read this book as much as I can to y'all, and I hope you all enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the book myself, because I've read it before. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. For my sisters, Susan, Cindy, Sally, and Elaine, brave, beautiful warriors. Part 1, Leningrad. Chapter 1. I grabbed Hitler from behind by the hair and wouldn't let go. Ow, you're hurting me, he cried. Coward, baby, Nazi pig, you'll pay for what you've done to Russia. Now turn around, and if you make one false move, this bayonet goes right into your gut. Be careful, you could hurt me, he whined. Don't tempt me, I snarled, poking a stick into his back. Why do I always have to be Hitler? Why can't I be the Russian general for a change? Misha asked. It was a fair question. My brother Alik and I made him play Hitler all the time. We blamed it on his dark hair. We said it matched the mustache made of brown cloth we pasted on his upper lip. In truth, it was because he was 11 years old and we were 12, and we could always talk him into it. Alik liked playing Stalin, the boss of all Russia, while I preferred to call myself General Ivan, mostly because I liked the sound of my name with a fancy title in the front of it. Do you know who I feel sorry for? Alik asked. Blondie, Hitler's dog. We'd seen pictures of them once in the newspaper. She was a beautiful German Shepherd. Poor Blondie, I agreed. Can you imagine having to lick his hand all the time? Ew, groaned Misha. I'd bite it right off. Or having to do what he told you to do, or be punished, he continued. I'd run away, I said. Hey, that's an idea. Let's pretend Blondie ran away to Leningrad. She's here now, lost in our city. We have to find her before Hitler does. Come on. Misha ripped his mustache from his lip, yelling, I'm not Hitler anymore. And off we ran. Life had never been more exciting than it was since the war began 3 months ago. Mothers worked in their factories 11 hours a day now instead of 8. Fathers were at the front and schools were closed, or in our case, destroyed by a bomb. We are so lucky that happened, we said when we were alone. If adults were near, we said, we are so lucky that happened on a Saturday when no one was in school. Either way, we had a freedom we'd never experienced before. That's not to say we weren't busy. Although the summer of 1941, we proudly filled sandbags, collected bottles, planted vegetables, and sewed bandages for the wounded. We were fascinated by the searchlights that scanned the sky at night. They were like giant swords of light that could protect us from anything. The war had its difficulties, too. Food rationing had started immediately after the Germans invaded Russia in June. For growing boys who could eat 5 meals a day and still have room for dessert, this wasn't what you call good news, but no one went hungry. There had been a few bombing raids, like the other that destroyed our school and by early September, Germans were close enough to shoot artillery at us from the south. Yet somehow it was all tolerable. We had no doubt we were ready for the Germans and whatever they had planned for us. That all changed on September 8th, 1941, the day Leningrad was surrounded, cut off from the rest of the world. That was the night the Germans began teaching us what bombing really meant. That evening, Alik and Misha, who lived next door, had come over to play. My mother's shift at the Kyoto Overlooks factory had ended, but she wasn't home yet. Alik and I were practicing a new song on our concertinas, little accordion-like instruments. Misha didn't play an instrument, but he shook a tambourine every once in a while as an accompaniment. Sit down, Ivan, Alec demanded after he'd missed his chord change and we had to stop and start over again. I play better standing up, I said. You show off better standing up. Maybe I do. I twirled around, squeezing the luscious sound out of my concertina. You should try it sometime. Let's start at the beginning again, he sighed. I know what the notes are. I just forgot. I just forget. Sure, I said, and I sat down across from him on a wooden chair in the room that had served as our kitchen, living room, and my bedroom. Watch my left hand, do what I do. We sing in unison, and for the first 4 lines, I reminded Alik. He nodded. We played a brief introduction, and then sang, My dear sunflower with your golden hair, sing to me in the evening air. Your dark eyes sparkle over skin so fair. The front door opened abruptly, and in came Olga Osipenko, followed by her small black dog, Oscar. I loved Oscar, and had taught him several tricks. Here, boy, I said, clapping my hands. He jumped into my lap, but slid off because there wasn't room for both him and the concertina. Misha bent down, picked him up, and laughed as Oscar began to lick his face. I watched them jealously. We'd never been able to have a pet because my mother sneezed and sniffed if she petted a cat or a dog, or was around one for very long. Don't you have work to do? Olga demanded, addressing the 3 of us, leaving the door open behind her. She was 13 and in charge of the children's work duties in our apartment building. Although a good group leader, sometimes she was very bossy. Did you forget how to knock? I responded. We're practicing a new song. Do you want to hear it? Alika asked with his natural kindness. That's a waste of time when there's a war going on. Oscar jumped down from Misha's arms and began to explore our apartment. It's called Culture, Olga. I stood up and began playing my concertina. Maybe Olga didn't understand, but I knew music was important for telling our stories and keeping our history alive. She put her hands on her hips. Did you complete your firework hours on the roof? Yes, look at the paper hanging next to the door. We signed in and out. Alik informed her as he played the melody to My Sunflower. What's your assignment tomorrow? Address removal, I answered. Alik and Ivan and me we're painting all the address in Leningrad white. And the street signs too, Misha said in one long breath. If the Germans get in, they won't know where to go. He slapped his tambourine for emphasis. Alik began to play our sunflower song from the beginning in full voice. Misha, Alik, and I sang, My dear sunflower with your golden hair, sing to me in the evening air. In through the open door came the tiny ancient woman known to the children in the building as Auntie Vera, or simply Auntie. She lived in the apartment above us. After my father died when I was 3, she'd been a great help to my mother, acting as a friend and babysitter. She stopped in almost daily to visit or to share a meal with us. Her small shoulders were already moving up and down to the song, a smile spreading across her face. Beautiful, she murmured. Don't stop. She put a lumpy cloth bag on the table, which I guess held her rations. She stretched out her arms. Dance with me, Olga? The girl shook her head. Auntie Vera, who was unfazed. Misha? He put down his tambourine and joined hands with her. Alik and I both began playing more enthusiastically, now that we had an audience of sorts. Even Oscar sat down in front of us as though to listen. I imagined how wonderful it would be to play for a room full of people one day. It was my secret dream to make my living by playing music. Well, either that or doing something with dogs. I could never quite make up my mind. Then at the open door, smiling at the scene before her, for her weariness, was my mother. Mama! I called, continuing to play. How do you like our new song? Come dance for us. She laughed as she set her heavy bags down on the kitchen table. The only dancing I want to do is in my sleep. Hello, everyone. Hello, Oscar. Oscar looked up at her and wagged his tail, although he knew by now she never petted him. After work, my mother usually stopped at one or two stores to get our rations. She had to do this almost every day, as most stores stocked only one item. This one for bread, and the one for cheese or for butter, another one for a small bit of meat. Precious hours she could have spent sleeping or home with me were wasted standing in line. It was a new demand for war, but my mother was strong, only a few years over 30. Thankfully, I was able to help her by standing against the food line now that school was suspended. I smiled as I looked at my friends, my mother, our cozy apartment, my little world. Rising out of my chair, I tried to infuse my music with the joy I felt. Ivan, and my mother said, I like the new song you had. She stopped talking and her head tilted suddenly to the side. She ran to the windows at the front of our apartment, stuck her head out as far as she could, and scanned the skies. I stopped playing and heard what she heard. A low drone, steady, getting progressively louder. The notes from a leaked concertina have faded. Auntie and Misha stopped dancing. Olga froze. Oscar ran to her side. The Germans, I murmured, rushing to the window, leaning out to see if I could catch a glimpse of the planes. Yes, she said, but something's different. As if on cue, the sound of the incoming planes seemed to double. Air raid sirens. Wired into almost every street in Leningrad began to scream their warning. I spun around and saw my fear reflected in the terrified faces of my friends. Alik, I cried. Where's your mother? At work, he answered, as if he could hardly catch his breath. I'm going home, Olga shouted, and she ran through the open door, with Oscar close behind. My mother took charge. Ivan, help me put the covers over the windows. Auntie, take Misha and Alec and go into the bedroom. There are chairs in the closet. Wait there for us. Auntie held out her arms to sheep her the two brothers into the closet we'd prepared for just such an emergency. I leaned out the window again. The sky was dark with with a dozen or more low-flying planes on their way to bomb us. The noise was triple what it was a minute ago. The air raid sirens, relentless. Ivan, my mother shouted, help me! She had picked up one of the large pieces of wood that we had to cover our main windows in case an air attack, and was struggling to slide it into the slots we made to hold it. I grabbed the end nearest to me, and we had it in place in seconds. The sound was a monstrous roar now. It felt like it was on top of us, under us, surrounding us, a violent hurricane of noise. Just as we lifted the second piece of protective wood, a bomb hit nearby. Hurry, Mama! I cried as we tried to slip the cover into its brackets. Another bomb hit and our building shook. We fell to the floor only seconds after we maneuvered the covering into place. My mother jumped to her feet, grabbed my hand, and ran me into the bedroom. We were thrown into the closet by what felt like a shock wave, landing on the laps of Alik and Misha. I slipped down to sit on the floor. My mother settled herself into the chair next to Alik and put her arm around her protectively. Auntie prayed the old Russian Orthodox prayers quietly. It was dark in the closet, but I could see everyone until my mother said, Ivan, close the door all the way. Then it was dark as death. The bombs were falling in such rapid succession that I lost count after the sixth or seventh one. Misha began to whimper. I leaned up against my mother's leg in the dark. The building groaned. The air seemed to be seeping out of my lungs. There was pain in my ears. Then a bomb hit so hard I was sure it landed on our building. The bodies of my friends were thrown on top of me, pushing the air out of my lungs. I tried to yell, "Get off me! Get off me!" No sound came. I couldn't see. I couldn't move. Is anyone hurt? It was the distraught voice of my mother. I felt someone being lifted off of me. Air rushed back into my lungs. "A leak," I heard my mother say. "Are you all right?" "Yes," he answered faintly. "Misha?" "Yes," he said, sounding as if he'd begun crying, and the weight became less. "Auntie?" "I'm here," she said, and almost cheerily as the last of the bodies slipped off my back. "Ivan," my mother said softly, fearfully, as she touched my shoulder and turned me over. "I'm okay," I said faintly, coughing as the fine dust that covered my lips seeped into my throat when I spoke. "Sit up." She pulled me into a sitting position and then onto the chair next to her, holding me to her. More bombs exploded in the distance. The planes had dropped our share of their loads on us and moved farther into the city to destroy something else. To destroy someone else. "Can we open the door, Mama?" I asked, desperate to have even the smallest bit of light in our cramped closet. The bedroom windows were small, and on the other side of the room, but they were uncovered. She hesitated. "Just an inch," she said, fumbling for the doorknob in the dark. The comfort that slice of light he'd provided calmed the terrible fear in me. I saw Misha most clearly, slumped in the chair, eyes wide open, and his thumb in his mouth. I smelled a pungent, sour odor. "What's that?" I said to myself, understanding the same moment that it was Misha wetting his pants. No one answered. "Where do you think they are now?" Alika sounded frightened. "I don't know," my mother answered calmly. "Will they come back?" Misha asked, not bothering to take his thumb out of his mouth. "I think they're done for the day," Auntie said with assurance, as if trying to cheer us up. "It will be dark soon. They won't be able to aim very well in the dark. Can I go and look, Mama?" "No. We'll wait 15 minutes after the last bomb. If we don't hear any planes, we could go out again." The echo of the air raid sirens lingered, but they were coming from other neighborhoods now. I felt claustrophobic and sweaty. It seemed there was just barely enough oxygen for the five of us. "Look at the bright side," Alec added after a minute. I waited, unable to imagine a bright side to a German bombing raid. "Oh, go away home." I left in spite of myself. So did the others. It would have been unbearable with one more person in the closet. Even if she did come with my favorite dog, suddenly it didn't feel so bad. This is how soldiers must feel, I thought, proud and relieved at having made it through the air raid in one piece. After 15 minutes had passed, my mother let us leave the closet. We looked ghostly, covered in the fine, dusty powder that had fallen from the tiny cracks that opened in the wall and ceiling as the bombs did their work. "It's all right, Misha," I heard my mother say softly to him. "I'll take care of it." "Do you think my apartment is still here?" Auntie asked with a forced laugh. "Ivan, why don't you boys walk Auntie upstairs?" As my mother said. "Make sure everything is okay. I'll go out front in a minute and see what was done to our building." I agreed, but watched her as she surveyed our living area, picking up the small framed photograph of my father off the floor and putting it back in its place. "The glass cracked," she murmured sadly. "A concertinas!" I exclaimed, having forgotten they lay unprotected. And Alec picked his up, shaking it gently to get rid of a light coating of gray dust. "I think they'll be fine. I can't see them too well." The wooden windows covers were still in place, adding a happiness to our usually cheerful home. Auntie stood in front of a wall mirror that hung a screw, brushing the dust from her shoulders and her hair, retying the small blue headscarf she wore. There was a tremor in her hand. Leek and I slipped the heavy window covers off, letting in an eerie, smoky light. My mother soaked the dish towel in water, going back to the closet to clean up after Misha. Under normal circumstances, Alik and I would have teased Misha mercilessly for his accident. That night, both of us pretended the dark, wet spot on his pants wasn't there. What do you say, boys? Auntie asked, picking up her bag. Are you ready to take me home? All I really wanted to do was pretend everything was normal and be alone in our apartment with my mother and have her listen to the details of my day while we ate dinner. I was watching Alik pack his concertina in its case, and Misha wipe his tambourine with his shirt, even when I heard the plates once more. Mama, I cried, they're coming back. Get in the closet, she yelled. Everyone! And the five of us ran for our cramped shelter. There was no time to cover the windows again. The air raid siren shrieked just as we closed the door. We begged around in a cramped space as if we were in a car that kept hitting tree after tree after tree. The war had finally reached Leningrad. Okay, everyone. That was chapter 1 of the book. I won't try to keep the video very long, so I will stop at chapter 2 for now. But I will see if I can post tomorrow. I hope you all enjoyed chapter 2. I hope you all enjoyed chapter 1, I mean. And I will hopefully see you all tomorrow. Oh. And there was a very long chapter, but I felt like it. But I thank you all so much for staying this long. And I hope you all have a good day, /night, /evening. And I love you all, my little starshines. It's Starlights. I will see you all tomorrow. Good day.